Do you hear that? It's the sound of pitchforks and the torches coming to burn my house down. Why am I saying this? Oh, well, you know, we're going to go over philosophy. Philosophy is something important to me, and I would love you to, you know, have an open mind. You're my people. And also, well, yeah. You may be asking, what is so bad about philosophy that you think everybody's gonna be raising pitchforks? Well, it may be political philosophy, so yeah, yeah. Okay, well, take this as a warning. A warning, okay? A warning. So you can take a step back, or just completely skip this video, okay? But I would love it if you could have an open mind, take a step back, calm your emotions of anything I have to say, and don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. This is going to be John Rawls. Justice as fairness. I will also be looking at a screen to my left. Right. I will be looking at a screen to my right, and I'm not mixing up my left and rights because I'm looking at you, the microphone over here, and you, the screen I need to be looking at, and I could put it behind us. Nope, that gets in the way. Philosophy is a state of understanding, an observation rather than based on facts outside of our created cultures. Philosophy is not how the sun rises and falls, but the why. I was always taught that the question of how was set for science, the way for philosophy, the when for history, the where for geography, and the what for the confused. So what about the question of who? Who is individualistic? And each individual has their own how, why, when, where, and what they care about to give credence to their identity. But today, we're focusing on the philosophy of John Rawls. Whether you think philosophy has a right or wrong answer, given that some philosophies do not capture the full context of certain things and are thusly wrong in certain percepts or precepts. Is it percepts? Precepts? I'm too lazy to look up the grammar. Somebody correct me in the comments. I do tons of research. I do tons and tons of research on philosophy and religion and all this other stuff, and I'm not capable of doing grammar. Jeez. You know where my priorities are. This video will be one that is politically charged. I insist we all drop our pride in the differences, take a step back, and try to not trip like I did in the shower this morning, because that hurt, and I'm kind of in pain. Yeah, don't kick me while I'm down, please. Yeah. I would say you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses on, would you? But then I'd have to edit that in because I don't have glasses. Okay, so first off, I will be reading the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy as quote. Okay, let me just look. John Rawls was an American political philosopher in the liberal tradition. His theory of justice as fairness describes a society of free citizens holding equal basic rights and cooperating within an egalitarian economic system. His theory of political liberalism explores the legitimate use of a powerful political power in a democracy and envisions how civic unity might endure despite the diversity of the worldviews that free institutions allow. His writings on the law of peoples set out a liberal foreign policy that aims to create a permanently peaceful and tolerant international order. So essentially, the New World Order. Too bad that's not going on today. Yeah, basically, if you didn't understand that, basically he says that everyone is equal despite our differences, and that our differences should not lead us to be intolerant to those who are different than us. That's pretty much the basic understanding of the United States of America's beliefs based on the Constitution. Rawls saw political philosophy needs to achieve 4 key things: reason, adaptation, limit testing, and reconciliation. Which makes the most sense. What's the 4 things we need in society? Reasonable citizens, quick adaptation to change, finding the limits of change in relation to how reasonable and adaptable those citizens are, and finally, to reconcile with the citizens, relieving their frustration. Yes, that makes sense, right? Anything outside of that, he argued, is not justice nor political philosophy at all. That is his basic foundation. I will now quote him. The correct regulative... I don't know why I'm giving that accent. The correct regulative principle for anything depends on the nature of that thing. This statement declared that he didn't have a universal principle, such as all people are basically good, or all people are basically evil, or basically need to stop putting the empty milk carton in the back of the fridge. One thing Rawls has in his philosophy is something that I would argue is missing nowadays: the separation of morals and politics. Let's just step back, control the anger with what I'm about to ask, and don't go. Or you can go. I'm not forcing you to be here. Let's try to become aware of emotions, our emotions, your emotions, and their triggers to better understand if you are in opposition to this philosophy emotionally, even if you are very tolerant to your perceptions of minor or major evil in your personal definition of evil. My nose is running. I'm so sorry. I wrote this down so I don't go on a tangent, so Now, in the United States, the 45th president was named Donald Trump. He had bombastic characteristics, he had riches, he had Twitter battles, and he had opinions and policies. Consider the years of those living in the U.S. between the years of 2016 and 2020. How many wars did the U.S. start? How many war crimes did the U.S. manage to commit compared to previous or the current presidents? But most importantly, how happy were the people's lives during those years compared to now? How secure did they feel? Now ask yourself, if you voted for or against him, or if you legitimately thought Biden would be a better president for you in this country, which I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Overall, how you voted doesn't matter in this case I'm bringing up, okay? Let's get that out of the way. Voting, don't care. I don't really care how you voted. What you vote for, I'm sorry, but my opinion is what you vote for doesn't mean you're that person. I mean, that's dumb. You can believe that, but I'm not. What matters in this case is the why you voted. That is important. Whether you believe in the election process or not, it's obvious at this point that Biden wasn't voted in, but that Trump was anti-elected. As in, Biden didn't campaign, and the little campaign he did have was based on the very good people lie. If you don't believe me in that it was a lie, then you need to look up the full context of what Trump was saying instead of believing the Wall Street Journal for what they did to PewDiePie, because Trump literally did say that the white supremacists should be locked up. People across the U.S. came out in droves to vote against Trump, rather than vote for his opponent. Let's keep our emotions under control as I ask this question. Let's be mature here and have a discussion to broaden our worldviews and become better than we were yesterday. When you vote, if you vote, and if you're not old enough, you can still think about how you'd vote. Mock voting. Would you vote for policy or character? That's the argument that Rawls wants distinction between. Yes, Rawls argued that policy is not indicative of character, nor vice versa. A good policymaker might be a horrible human being, as it were, and most are, unfortunately. Or a really good person might have horrible policies, as with the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Whether you believe that or not, up to you. This is philosophy. No right or wrong answer. Personally, I'm not sure how voting against someone leads to better outcomes, and Biden, while not a good character at all, had his worst character moments in the 80s and 90s before even I was born. Yes, Biden is officially the first ever president recorded saying the N-word on TV, not once, but twice. Whether you give him the benefit of the doubt as that was a long time ago, he was adamantly against gay marriage in 2008 through 2016 as vice president. But people didn't vote for policies, they voted against a character. Not very many people, I would argue, liked either of these candidates, but were tired of Trump even though he had some pretty good peace deals in the Middle East. And Biden is trying to destroy that outright, and I don't like that. I'm sorry. I don't like that. Trump isn't like a saint at all. I mean, come on. We all agree on that, right? But dang, the peace deals, baby. The peace deals. Come on. Saudi Arabia and Israel getting together like, woo! It's like, holy crap. Morocco was almost there too. You don't understand how good this was. Children, families, coming together, trying to be peaceful. Don't you want peace and not war? Come on. I'm not painting Trump as a saint because he's not. And if you think he is, well, I struggle to see that. I mean, yeah. He had good policies sometimes, but his character should have been toned down a lot. I mean, a lot. I mean, if he didn't have his mouth on him, he'd probably been a good president, in my opinion. You can have the opinion of that he was the best president of all time, or you can have the opinion he's the worst president of all time. It doesn't matter what your opinion is. It matters that we both take a step back and view each other's opinions and our emotions to see how we view and if we can grow from this. Bridge a divide, if you will. Because that's the plan here. That's the plan here, okay? This channel has a mission, and it's called Bridging the Divide. And if that's impossible, so be it. I don't care. I do things that are always impossible. That's just me. But what I'm asking, for people who voted against a character rather than a policy, was it worth it for you? If you voted for Biden, did you find that it was worth it? This may be divisive, but maturity doesn't allow for divisiveness. You might even be like me and just want people to shut up about the presidents and focus on fixing problems in the world. One man doesn't control the country, and there is a forever government, those appointed, not voted in, without term limits. These include the people that bomb children and families in the Middle East all the way from the 90s to now through both parties' rule. They say the president committed war crimes and that's perspective because they had to sign off on it. Some trusted these officials too much and might not have intended these children casualties or family casualties, sometimes American casualties, that had nothing to do with our enemies. In my perspective, the president is just one man, and if he goes rogue against the system, much like Trump had, these people he trusted went behind his back and lied to him. We know this to be true now. So you have to ask, did they lie to Obama too? Did they lie to Biden? Did they lie to Bush? How long has this been going on, and how does it relate to what Rawls was talking about? Simply put, legitimacy isn't legitimate to conclude that a president is the sole factor, while a big one for policy. They could be swayed by their cabinet, their citizens, or even their opponents. Their character is less likely to be affected by these criteria. Rawls argued this, and quote, "Our exercise of political power is fully proper only when it is exercised in accordance with a constitution that the essentials of which all citizens as free and equal may reasonably be expected to endorse in the light of principles and ideals acceptable to their common human reason." This means that people must exercise common sense when they vote. Every single one of us has a right to vote. That's no longer an issue. But just voting as if to say, well, I like how he acts, or I despise how he acts. 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 I like how he acts. It's not a legitimate reason to vote. I'm sorry. If you disagree, that's okay. You're not being accosted here for the difference of your worldview. Come on. Rawls distinctly points out that reasonable citizens must differentiate morality and policy. In this way, he tackled the stability problem of the multiple different people in varying beliefs and worldviews being judged under one governing law. In my own perspective, Rawls could have applied this also to philosophy itself, rather than just morals to politics, especially since both morals and politics have their own set of philosophies completely distinct from one another, but abashedly tied together. such as Otto von Bismarck saying, "It's better to punish a number of innocents than for one criminal to go free." In counter to our founding fathers who said the opposite, "It's better for one criminal to go free than punish a number of innocents." Of course, depending on your worldview, either is good or bad. But most in the US would agree that it is better for a criminal to go free than punish innocent blood, while both, in their most extreme cases, could be the most evil policy at that time. This transitions into Rawls' justice as fairness philosophy. Justice, Rawls argued, is a political conception of shared values among the people under our governing body. A political conception is freestanding. Its content is set out independently. Its content is set out independently from the comprehensive. Its content is set out independently from the comprehensive doctrines that citizens affirm, such as religion, to what the leaders say to the followers, the act of pursuing financial freedom like I am right now. You can donate to me with a link down in the description below. Buy me a coffee, $5 in. Or just simply paying for stuff in an exchange. Go to Walmart, buy some gas, pay some make it rain on them babes. Why do I say this? We affirm that by doing that, believing it to be necessary, and that's important, because what is necessary doesn't always mean it's good. In war, it's necessary to shoot to kill, but killing is fundamentally wrong, and that's complicated. Is it justified if the other soldier is shooting back? Is it justified if the other soldier didn't know he was fighting in that moment in time? Is it justified to go against your own team if you know you'll be killed by their orders? It's far too complicated to even draw a line for everyone to agree with. Rawls understood that. Rawls understood that these laws and public reason and rights were abstract, based on a cultural mindset of its entire citizenry. However, this also means a society can be legitimate and stable without being just. Rawls boasts theories of egalitarianism in contrast to utilitarianism. Don't know what that means? Don't worry, I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Have you recently heard the terms equality and equity? Think of it this way, that egalitarianism is equality, but utilitarianism is equity. Equality is where everyone is equal and gets equal opportunities. Equity assumes the negatively affected should get benefits the privileged should not. You can't have equality if you have equity, but you can have equity if you have an equality in mindset rather than actual social equality. This just means that if everyone agrees to give homeless people a building to go to for free to have some symbol of a home, why would a person with a home go there to stay for free or complain, other than if there's like drugs or something? Because unfortunately that happens. But you know, some people actually do go to stay in a homeless shelter when they already have a home to stay in. When they already have a home to stay in. So, yeah, stuff does happen, unfortunately. Rawls' positive distributive thesis is equality-based reciprocity. All social goods are to be distributed equally unless an unequal distribution would be to everyone's advantage, which is not equity. Not equity. It's not socialism either. But equality, as long as we all agree on it for the most part. And here's another quote. Significant political and economic inequalities are often associated with inequalities of social status that encourage these laws of lower status that encourage those of lower status to be viewed by both themselves and by others as inferior. This may arouse widespread attitudes of difference and servility on one side, and a will to dominate and arrogance on the other. These effects of social and economic inequalities can be serious evils in the attitudes they engender great vices. Fixed status ascribed by birth, or by gender, or race, is particularly odious. Too bad we don't ascribe to that today. These are his two official principles of justice as fairness. The first principle: each person has the same indefeasible claim to a fully adequate scheme of equal basic liberties, but that scheme must be compatible with the same scheme of liberties for all. The second principle: social and economic inequalities are to satisfy two conditions. They are to be attached to offices and positions open to all under conditions of fair equality of opportunities. They are to be the greatest benefit of the least advantaged member of society, known as the difference principle. Principle? I misspelt that. The first principle is about giving equal rights to all human entities, sometimes animals. The second says that inequality is okay only if there is fair equality of opportunity and wealth isn't kept away from the disadvantaged. The difference principle allows inequalities of wealth and income, so long as these will be to everyone's advantage and specifically to the advantage of those that will be worst off. Like, I might be poor and under the poverty line a lot. I'm not going to shill for Buy Me a Coffee again, but I will say the name. But I have ample opportunity to get any job I want as long as I work hard enough and am capable. The utilitarian society would see that race or gender is outnumbered in a certain industry or office, such as STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, which is garbage, by the way. Math, not the rest, by the more dominant class, such as straight white males such as myself, even though I'm not in STEM. Are you seeing a connection here to real life? Are you seeing the division between equality and equity? Forcing people to be in an industry or prevented to be in an industry based on the race or gender or is anything else is wrong to Rawls. And to me as well. Not to mention illegal in the US. But they still do it. And it doesn't stop activist groups or politicians from promising things they probably should. This is integral to the moral and political divide Rawls is arguing. Equality is a moral thing. Equity is a political thing. But sometimes it can be vice versa. It's a bit complicated, but I'll leave it there. So I've hopefully detailed my biases clearly in that we can fissure but not destroy our debate in what is justice. My personal belief in John Rawls' philosophy of politics and morals is this. I 100% agree. He's literally who I base my politics on, forming my own opinions about certain things based on central Rawls' idea that everything is fluid and nothing is set in stone. If we are all to be equal, it's okay to have differences. But it's not okay to take what you don't deserve nor have achieved based on merit. I mean, say if you're black and you were not allowed to be in fashion or something like that. More African Americans are in creation industries rather than science or economic industries like, it prevents you from doing what you want, which is why opportunities must be equal. And while I say that, I do realize opportunities are not always equal, and those who aren't should be called out and penalized, in my opinion. But we all need to learn to decide if the industry or office actually is discriminating or that the class of person just collectively don't want to be in the industry. Everyone is different, but collective identities still determine what we want to believe. And they still determine what we want to be in life. Be what you want as long as you don't erase the opportunities to others once your position is no longer filled, as it were. I feel we can agree on that, right? Right? If you're black, why would you care if somebody white took your place? That doesn't make any sense. Not to me, at least. Discrimination is wrong, in my opinion, okay? So tell me in the comments your opinions. Is Rawls' ideas good or bad for society? Do you think people are following his ideas in your society? Do you support a more set-in-stone approach? Hash it out, and remember to be mature. Click the like button, click the subscribe button. Never forget, I love you. Hopefully, you'll love me back. And catch it next time.